This is a parable that has many I's and me's and mine's and my, and it's very self-centered, isn't it? The rich man was concerned with one thing alone, himself. He saw that he had a bountiful harvest that certainly he could have shared with those who worked his land. And hopefully maybe he did. But still, he decided to tear down what he had, build something new so that he could store that grain, so that it would last for him forever. Because many people think that what we store up in this life will last us forever. Alas, it only lasts us until the moment that we are called to depart this life for another. And then what happens to everything, all those treasures that we have? It's a temptation. It's a temptation to gather as much as we can in this life and not be concerned with the life to come. And there are many people. One of the readings that I was looking at in preparation talked about a woman named Edith, a young woman, Edith. And her life was centered around herself. And they said that Edith was bound on the north and the south, the east and the west, by Edith, by herself. She couldn't see beyond what was hers and her own things and herself. She probably died a lonely woman because she didn't put stock in others. She didn't see that the gift of others are a true gift from God, and that we must be concerned not just with our own things, not just with ourselves, but for our brothers and sisters, what we do for them in particular. Faith is a gift, as we hear in the first reading. Grace is a gift. They're all things that are given to us by God because of His generosity, because of His love, because of His providence. And yet oftentimes we think that we can store up things for ourselves. There's a story of a woman. She was very wealthy. She certainly didn't have a lot of sins against her, but she lived in her mansion and she was very little concerned with the outside world, with others. She greeted them on the street, but she never went beyond herself. And as it happened, like the rich man in today's parable in the gospel, she died. She went to heaven. And there she thought, because she had amassed so much on earth, that she would have a beautiful home in heaven, one of those mansions that are talked about in Scripture. And so St. Peter is the one with the keys, right? Yes. St. Peter sends her off with an angel to take her to her home in heaven. Not that heaven isn't enough, but they passed by a number of beautiful mansions, and she was wondering which one the angel would take her to. As it happened, they went on. They passed all the mansions. Not one was meant for her. And then there were some beautiful homes, Victorian homes, beauties. She said, oh, one of these, certainly. They passed all of them. Then they passed all of the ranch homes, the split levels, and all of the little cottages, the salt boxes. They passed by apartment buildings where she thought, maybe I'll have a condo with a nice view of all of heaven. It wasn't meant to be. Finally, they went down this path, and at the end was a very simple shack. And the angel said, this is your home for eternity. And the woman looked at the angel and said, how can that be? There was a wealthy woman on earth. And the angel looked at her and said, this is all we could build with what you sent to heaven. And so none of us can purchase property in heaven. That's not the point of the story. But our good deeds do precede us. The good that we do for others, the good that we do for our brothers and sisters, the money we share with others, even from our own need, is what prepares, what helps us get in to the kingdom through the grace of God and how we will live. We know we have faith that the saints, those who have lived a virtuous life, a good life, even though they may have started as sinners, they converted. They gave themselves over entirely to the Lord. like the martyrs that we remember on this day, who desired martyrdom. John de Brebeuf prayed that of all the torment and the suffering that he saw, if he could share only a part of that, or all of it, he would do it gladly, for having evangelized, for having spread the gospel of the good news of Jesus Christ and his salvation. His one regret was that he hadn't done enough. His one regret was that they hadn't converted enough people to the faith. And yet he was martyred. And I can imagine that he died joyfully because of what he had sent to heaven in his good deeds and his works, in what he did for the love of God and the love of his brothers and sisters. 10 years after his martyrdom, Saint Carreiro was born in the same village where he was martyred. Obviously, her conversion brought her to virtue and to a good life and to Jesus Christ. And she is remembered as a saint in the canon of saints. So we ask the Lord that our hearts may be touched by those around us, and that we too may touch the lives of others and help others as we help ourselves gain a place close to the Lord in his kingdom, to live there forever in his love, his peace, and the joy and peace that come alone from him.